Welcome to AskPrep, your trusted companion for UPSC and IAS preparation. Today we will study about a very important topics of Indian economy, which is Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956. In order to understand the significance of the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956, we must first contextualize the economic environment of India in the 1950s. India gained independence in 1947. And the newly formed government faced several challenges, the most prominent of which was the need for economic development and industrialization. The country's economy was largely agrarian, with limited industrial infrastructure and very little capital formation. Moreover, India was still recovering from the impacts of colonial rule and the partition, which had drained resources and disrupted economic activities. The Indian government, led by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, believed that industrialization was the key to economic self-reliance and development. Thus, it was decided that industrial policy should be central to the country's economic strategy. The Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956 was, therefore, formulated with the intention of accelerating industrial growth, reducing dependence on foreign countries, and fostering a self-reliant economy. The policy laid out the vision for India's industrialization and the role that the government would play in this process. It was the second industrial policy of independent India, following the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1948, but the 1956 resolution was far more comprehensive and strategic in nature. This policy had a long-term vision for industrial development and became the cornerstone of India's industrialization strategy during the first few decades of independence. The Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956 had several key objectives. First and foremost, it aimed at accelerating industrial growth. The government recognized that industrial development was essential for creating jobs, increasing national income, and improving the standard of living for the Indian population. Industrialization was also seen as a means of reducing India's dependence on agricultural production and imports. Second, the policy sought to reduce dependence on foreign countries. The policymakers were committed to making India economically self-sufficient and reducing reliance on imports, particularly manufactured goods. The policy emphasized the need to promote the production of goods within the country, through the development of domestic industries and infrastructure. Third, the policy placed a strong emphasis on public sector investment. It identified that private capital was insufficient to achieve the ambitious goals of industrial development, so the government decided to take on a significant role in industrialization. It focused on developing industries in sectors that were seen as critical for long-term growth, such as heavy industries, basic industries, and defense industries. The public sector would play a lead role in these industries, with the government owning and operating many of these enterprises. The Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956 also introduced the concept of mixed economy, where both the public and private sectors would play important roles in industrialization. The policy envisaged a significant role for private enterprises, especially in areas that did not require massive investments or technological know-how. However, certain key industries, such as defense, atomic energy, and heavy industries, were to be the exclusive domain of the public sector. In terms of the structure of industry, the policy classified industries into three categories. Category A consisted of industries that were to be exclusively owned and operated by the state. These included industries related to defense, atomic energy, and heavy industries like steel, coal, and machine tools. These industries were considered crucial for national security and long-term economic growth. Category B consisted of industries that were open to both public and private sectors. These were industries that required significant investment but were not as critical as the industries in Category A. Industries like chemicals, fertilizers, and consumer goods fell into this category. The government encouraged private sector investment in these industries but would also invest in them through public sector enterprises. Category C consisted of industries that were entirely in the hands of the private sector. These industries were generally in the realm of consumer goods, light industries, and industries where the private sector could contribute without requiring heavy state intervention. Despite its visionary nature, the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956 faced several challenges and limitations. One of the primary criticisms was that the focus on heavy industry and the public sector led to the neglect of the agricultural sector and consumer goods industries. While the policy contributed to the growth of industries like steel and coal, the benefits of industrialization did not always reach the broader population, especially in rural areas. Moreover, the concentration of power in the public sector and the state's control over key industries sometimes led to inefficiencies. The License Raj, which was a byproduct of the policy, created a complex system of licenses and permits that made it difficult for businesses to operate freely. The lack of competition in the public sector led to a culture of inefficiency, and the policy's emphasis on central planning resulted in limited entrepreneurship in the private sector. Over the years, the limitations of the 1956 industrial policy became apparent, and in the 1980s and 1990s the government began to move towards liberalization and market-oriented reforms. However, the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956 had laid a strong foundation for India's industrial growth in the early years after independence. It played a crucial role in shaping the country's industrial landscape and laid the groundwork for the country's economic transformation in the decades to come. For UPSC and IAS aspirants, the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956 is a critical area of study, as it shaped India's industrialization strategy, influenced policymaking for several decades, and continues to have relevance in understanding the trajectory of India's economic development. In conclusion, the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956 was a comprehensive and strategic blueprint for India's industrial development in the post-independence period. It sought to achieve economic self-sufficiency, reduce dependence on foreign countries, and promote balanced regional growth. While the policy achieved significant progress in terms of industrial growth, it also faced challenges related to efficiency, inequality, and limited private sector participation. Understanding this policy is essential for anyone preparing for the UPSC or IAS exams, as it provides key insights into India's early economic policies and their long-term impacts. Thank you for joining us in this detailed analysis of the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956. Stay tuned to AskPrep for more content designed to help you excel in your UPSC and IAS exams.